Welcome back to Living Grounded. You're here with Lila and Tim.
Hi.
And we're still walking through the highlights of the Bible together. I feel like we've come a pretty long way.
I was thinking that too. We're not halfway through the Bible, that's for sure. But we have come through a long way.
Yes, we still got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
We're in 2 Kings, 2 Kings, whatever way you want to say it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It does feel like some things are inevitable in life. Like if you wash your car, it's going to rain the next day.
I don't have a car, but I reckon that's what happens.
Yeah. Or if you leave your phone at home or you walk away from it for any small period of time, that's when the crucial phone call will come. The second half of 2 Kings has a little bit of an inevitable feel to it. You remember from last episode that the northern kingdom of Israel, so the 10 northern tribes, after 19 kings who led the nation away from God and therefore away from his protections and blessings, finally the kingdom of Assyria came and conquered those 10 northern tribes. And not just conquered them, like defeated them in a battle or something like that, deported them. The majority of the population. It's really kind of hard in modern terms to conceive. You know, something like what's going on in Israel, Gaza is like the closest we've ever seen in the last 100 years. But you're literally talking about, you know, hundreds of thousands of people being driven away, carried off, and dispersed across a different empire. They've been dispossessed and never to return. The Jews who remain, incidentally, are those who eventually become the people we call the Samaritans. So you might remember them from the Gospel accounts. But the northern kingdom is gone, never to return. Our attention turns to the south.
What's happening there?
In Judah. The south has been infected with the virus of sin. The north is contagious, and now the south has got it. Sin has always been present, of course. You know, they weren't a perfect kingdom, but there was always kind of sin and devotion to the Lord. But slowly, it seems like faithfulness has eroded. So they might have been on a slower spiral, is maybe how you would see it. In chapter 6, you've got Jehoram, king of Judah. He marries the daughter of Ahab, the evil king of Israel. So there's a bad idea. And you know how that usually goes. Jehoram begins to do what is evil in the eyes of the Lord, as does his son Ahaziah. But again, it's not a instant descent here. It is a spiral, or maybe even a little bit of a roller coaster, in that God's hand hasn't left Judah. By divine providence, after the death of Ahaziah, Ahaziah's mother goes on this, her name's Athaliah, she goes on this crazy rampage trying to take power for herself, but a son is hidden in that process, one of Ahaziah's son, and raised to the throne, led by one of the priests, and it seems like raised in faith in God. This son is Joash. He turns out to be a good king. He repairs the temple. He restores Judah to worship of the Lord. And this is kind of a pattern that's going to be established. You're going to get a few good kings in Judah, but now the big change is that you also have evil kings as well. 2 kings, the kings worth taking note of are Hezekiah. He doesn't just halt the descent of Judah. He winds the clock back. He sends the roller coaster up again a little bit. You can listen to 2 Kings 18.
Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him among all the kings of Judah, either before him or after him. He held fast to the Lord and did not stop following him. He kept the commands the Lord had given Moses. And the Lord was with him. He was successful in whatever he undertook. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and did not serve him. From watchtower to fortified city, he defeated the Philistines as far as Gaza and its territory.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a summary of his time. We'll go into a few specifics. So Judah is now under the pump from Assyria, the same Assyria who destroyed and deported the northern kingdoms. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, he begins to, after he's done what he's done up north, he begins to move south, taking city after city. Hezekiah, he strips the kingdom of gold and silver to pay tribute to Assyria, but that only slows them down, or maybe not really much at all. Eventually, the Assyrian army makes it to Jerusalem, and they're outside the walls of Jerusalem when you get a slowing down moment in 2 Kings. Outside the walls, the general of Assyria, he makes an announcement. This is my summary, right? You think Egypt's going to save you, or God's going to save you? Well, I've actually come in the name of the Lord. This is like the Assyrian general says this. Don't listen to Hezekiah. He's misleading you when he says the Lord will deliver you. That's, in essence, his message. Now, Hezekiah, he hears all this, tears his clothes and puts on sackcloth. That's kind of like an Old Testament Jewish way of kind of protested injustice or sin or something along those lines. It's a sign of humility. God, we're nothing, this sort of thing. He sends word to Isaiah the prophet, and Isaiah responds, speaking for the Lord. He says, "Do not be afraid. I will make this general want to return to his own country." Essentially, and if you've been following along since Egypt, right, this commander from Assyria has done a very dumb thing. He's essentially challenged God. And so things start to go wrong for Sennacherib and his army. While his army is at the walls of Jerusalem, another king of the nation of Cush marches to attack Assyria. Sennacherib sends another letter to Jerusalem and Hezekiah. Don't even begin to think that this is God coming to rescue you. Did God rescue all the other nations I conquered? After receiving the second letter, Hezekiah prays to the Lord. He calls on God to hear what Sennacherib is saying and to humble him and protect his people, so that all the people would know that the Lord is God. So seeing another very Pharaoh moment here. Isaiah sends Hezekiah a message, a word from the Lord against the Assyrians. Here's my summary again. He will not enter Jerusalem. He will go back the way he came.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool. And we're told that night, you can catch it in 2 Kings 19:35. An angel of the Lord. Sometimes God works indirectly, the king of Cush coming and invading. Sometimes he works directly. Here we've got a direct. An angel of the Lord goes out that night, puts to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp.
That's some work there.
Yeah, that's the end of the siege. That's it. God has delivered Jerusalem. Sennacherib, tail between his legs, heads home. When he gets home, his sons murder him in the temple of the Assyrian god Nisroch.
That doesn't end well for him.
No. Don't challenge God. God can deliver his people is the message. He sure can. The second king worth mentioning is Josiah. So after Hezekiah, the next 2 kings turned from God to evil. They plunged the kingdom into idol worship. So here we go again. We're on the descent. Manasseh rebuilds the high places of worship. So that's places where they worship Baal and Asherah. He consults mediums and spiritists. He even puts an Asherah pole. You can look them up online, pretty creepy looking things. He puts one of them in the temple.
Oh, okay.
No, that's bad. As a result, God decides enough is enough. The kingdom has turned to evil. His patience has now run out with Judah, and he will hand them over to their enemies just like he did the north. And this is in spite of Josiah, who is a good king. Josiah finds the book of the law of Moses, which has been hidden in storage for 2 generations. He renews a covenant with God, makes sacrifices to the Lord, gets rid of all the idols in the land and so on. But God actually tells Josiah that it's already too late. The nation has already sinned too much. Justice needs to be done, and that will look like a conquering kingdom coming now to Judah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so look, it's just a reminder that doing good can't just undo evil. You can't just go, oh, sorry, and then do enough good. God is a God of mercy, but he's also a God of justice. There will be consequences. And so a few kings after Josiah, Nebuchadnezzar will lead the armies of Babylon against Jerusalem. And this time no angel is going to come and save them. The city is starved into submission. Zedekiah, king of Judah, is captured. His sons are killed before him. He's blinded and taken to Babylon. The city is destroyed by fire, Jerusalem that is. Majority of the population deported to Babylon. There remains a king of Judah, but he's in exile along with his people, including people like Daniel, who we're going to meet later in the series. But just take a moment. This 2 Kings ends with it's like the end of an era in a way. Almost 1,000 years ago, God brought Israel out of Egypt. He made a covenant with them. He blessed them with his presence. He blessed them as a people in a land. If they'd followed his commands, they would have remained blessed in the promised land. Instead, they turned to the gods of the nations around them. They became just as evil as the nations around them. And so after many warnings and great patience, God has left them to the consequences of their sin and covenant breaking. And so the question you kind of finish 2 Kings with in many ways is this it? Is this the end? Now, obviously, it's not the end of the Bible.
Nope.
Our job is not done either here at Living Grounded. But for the people of the time, it might have felt like it.
Pretty hopeless.
Yeah, what about God's promise to Abraham? What about that promise to Adam and Eve? What about God's love for the world that he created? And that's all to come. Over the many, many, many coming episodes, we'll see it. But that's where we're at the moment.
So definitely stay tuned for that. Lots happening in this episode. How does all this point us to Jesus then?
Yeah, look, it's becoming a bit of a broken record, but that's in many ways because the Bible is a broken record. It is fairly simple in its message in many ways. It wants to make something very, very clear, which is humanity is not capable of keeping covenant with God. God always keeps his promises, but we can't. We don't. Sin has twisted us too deeply. Even the best of us, kings like David and Hezekiah, can't do enough or be good enough themselves to make Israel holy. We need a better king. We need a king who can do everything that Hezekiah and Josiah did, but even more than that. A king who's going to restore God's kingdom to true worship, a king who's going to bring back God's law, a king who's going to turn people's hearts from false idols to God, a king who's going to cleanse the temple. And now it's a king who's going to deliver his people in a new exodus, bringing them out of exile into a foreign land, who's going to establish a new covenant, not just giving them the law, but not just a law on stone tablets, but a law on our hearts, so that God's people will remain faithful and remain in God's blessing. So again, if you know your Bible, you'll see where I'm going. In later episodes, we'll see how God's prophets will promise a king just like this, a Messiah. And you know who that is, Lila.
Who might that be? Jesus.
Yeah. It's usually the answer in these circles, isn't it? Yep.
Is it right?
Yeah.
So how does 2 Kings help us living grounded today? Seems like all these events happened so long ago.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Oh, well, look, for those of us who read the news regularly, it can feel like we're in a world that is descending into darkness, just like Israel were. To some, it feels like we're ruled over by kings who are leading us into the abyss. There's war, there's climate wars, there's tech wars. It can all feel very hopeless, I think. And it's true, Jesus is king, but we don't live in the fullness of his kingdom right now. We live in the midst of all that mess. And just as the fall of Jerusalem felt inevitable, we need to remember that the fall of this kingdom is inevitable as well. As we're feeling the sadness of the chaos and so on, we need to remember that Jesus' death and resurrection mark a great strike against the darkness of this world. It's the killer blow of Satan, of his forces. Revelation is the great reminder of this. The time we live in now isn't the promised land. We are in exile. We are in the foreign land. We're enduring the thrashing around of the serpent, Satan, trying to take out and harm God's people as much as he possibly can. But he's in the death throes. His power is limited. And the downward spiral is not inevitable. It's actually the opposite. We know that victory is coming. true victory, ultimate victory is coming because it's already come in some sense in Jesus.
Yep.
But what does it look like to live in the time in between before Jesus returns and brings in the fullness of the kingdom of God? The answer, it looks like perseverance. It looks like continuing to trust in Jesus while Satan tries his best to poison just one more person. It looks like reminding people of where true hope can be found. That as they're wrestling with the hopelessness and the downward spiral, that we go, no, remember, there's good is coming. God has come. He's come in the Messiah. He's come in Jesus. It looks like living quiet and peaceful lives, following Jesus' commands, trusting in him faithfully as we wait for the return of the fullness of the kingdom, where we'll have peace forever, no more downward spiral. I don't know if I'd say roller coaster because I don't like them, but it'll just be a nice cruise. Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to that. But we've got a bit more to cover in the Bible and in life, probably, until that happens. Next week, where are we going with?
We're going to a book of the Bible you may never have read, or if you did open it, you probably skipped through very quickly, which is called Chronicles. So we'll have a look at 1 and 2 Chronicles next episode.
Okay, cool. See you there.
Ciao.